I understand some of the reasons behind it, but I feel like your goal to create this one-stop shop for your customers, and then the things that you're adding as you're starting up just adds to that, right? Like they're going to think of Kelso Industries always. They'd be like, something comes up in the building, they're like, well, we should call Steve and see if they do this.
I want to be that solution, and I think there's a lot of reasons why over time we win work because of that. An owner calls us and we can do more for them. We're just helping them get promoted and do well in their job, managing, whether it's a GC or building engineer or anyone else that's responsible for properties. Our goal is to help them succeed.
Are you actively seeking out new partners? Do they usually find you? How much is inbound versus outbound on that?
5 years ago, nobody wanted to join us. Why would somebody want to join us? We're nobodies.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today, I'm here with Steve Carroll, who started a company called Kelso Industries with his fourth grade best friend and named it after the school that you met at, which I think I have actually heard that story before, but I think it's a pretty cool story. Steve, like I said, I like to let you tell the story, so I'm going to stop there from your bio because I really want to hear it from your mouth, and I think the guests will appreciate that better. And as I mentioned, I'm this is a space that I'm passionate about, so I'm very excited for this conversation. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate the time.
You bet. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Excited to get into it.
Awesome. Well, let's start with that. We heard about the school, the school name applying to the business, but let's hear a bit about your background and kind of what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. The quick and dirty on my background is I grew up on a farm in Sandy, Oregon. Went to Kelso Elementary School. Met my now business partner. He's our chairman of our company. We met back in fourth grade at Kelso Elementary School. We're even roommates in college. He went off on a totally different career path, took him all over the country in finance and private equity. And I enjoyed being in the building trades, being outside. I worked on asphalt paving crews, underground utility installation crews. Always just learning and trying to make as much money as I could. Got into commercial construction, learned a ton there. Felt like the thesis for what we do now really started to come together in my years in California, actually working for some GCs, and made a career pivot. Went to graduate school, spent some time at Walmart corporate in Arkansas, and learned how massive companies operate. Took a lot of those learnings, as many as I could anyway, from those 7 years at Walmart, put it all together into this thesis for Kelso, and we started this company back in 2021, and we've been off to the races ever since.
That's great. Okay, so many questions I want to ask you. Where do I start? So you started the business in 2021. Now, did you acquire? How did you start Kelso Industry? What was the beginning looking like there?
Yeah, so the opportunity that we felt made the most sense was to do something that we had some knowledge in, and we explored a bunch of different industries. My partner had a bunch of different industries that he had background with, but I always felt most comfortable in the trades and in construction. And so I explored a bunch of different paths. My undergraduate degree is in construction management. I love being a part of that industry. And so looked at a bunch of different trades, finally landed on HVAC as a place to start. And originally thought we would buy a small HVAC business in Arkansas, and I would just keep my job at Walmart to kind of get into the industry. And for a whole bunch of reasons that didn't pan out. And after a lot of heartache, broken deals, and lost money, we turned things around, got back into it, and found a business in Arizona, a bit bigger, and over time figured out how to get that deal closed. Moved my family from Arkansas to Arizona and ran that first business as a starting point in this journey. Okay. The owners of that business left, and they didn't want to run it anymore. They didn't want to be a part of it. And it was kind of our getting into business, and learned a lot of what not to do. Learned a few things of what to do, but learned a lot of what not to do. And barely survived that whole thing, but came away with a lot of learning and knowledge that we apply today, every day.
Okay, that's great. That's and kind of probably where like I said, I could talk to you all day, but this is stuff, this topic maybe is where would be a good place to spend a lot of time, because I didn't get to this part of your bio, but it says now you're across 40 states with 3,500 employees. So you just mentioned the first HVAC company in Arizona, and that was in 2021, you said?
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. So 2021, learned a lot of what not to do. And then obviously, kind of took off from there. You were not that far from 2021. And so let's start with that. Talk about some of what you learned not to do. Because I think probably we learn the most from hardships and failures than we do from success. Success is awesome, but probably it's born out of those hardships and failures. So tell us a little bit about the things that you thought, and I will admittedly say some of this might just be selfish because I might be making some of those mistakes right now and would love to shorten my learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, where do I start is the fun part of this conversation, because it felt like we made so many and there was just so much. I'll say some of it, it's just unavoidable. Some of it you just have to go through as a business owner. Yeah. And as a leader in a small business, you don't have much choice but to learn how to deal with some of the heartache that comes with situations that come up. The biggest learning, if I could distill it down, that enabled our company to grow is when the first business that we bought, the owners wanted to sell and leave, and that was fine at the time. That was necessary. But when things started to really pick up for us is after we had acquired a handful of companies and we realized there's just not enough time in the day to manage these companies that we're buying. And so we started looking for companies that fit our culture, our strategy, and would be more of a partnership with us instead of just buying the business and the people leaving. Gotcha. And that solves a lot of the challenges that we have experienced, because we're buying a business that is already doing well, and the owner isn't necessarily trying to sell and leave. They may want to take some chips off the table and over time retire, but that's a very different process and a different person and different outcome versus someone who's selling and wants to leave next week, 2 weeks from now, right? You've got things that happen in that environment where it's a sort of adversarial environment for both parties.
Right.
And so this changed for us, and it allowed us to look for partners instead of companies to buy. And hey, even the companies that join us as partners, those partners want to retire someday. Mm-hmm. And we're totally okay with that. We work with them on a plan. Every single company, every single leader in this organization has a succession plan. We all need succession plans. What happens if Jason gets hit by a bus? What happens if Steve gets hit by a bus? Yeah. What happens if any one of our team members get hit by a bus? We have to have a plan, because we've got a lot of people depending on us to provide for our families. And we need to secure the future, so including our customers. So I believe that model was a bit of the solution to many issues that come up with trying to rapidly grow in a trades organization. It probably applies to many organizations, candidly, but I'm not as familiar. This is what I do. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and the trades is what I'm familiar with, and people really matter. The relationships matter. The customer relationships matter. The relationships with the team matters. The relationships with the vendors matter. The process that's there. We're really looking to partner with great organizations that have those things in place and may want to augment what they have with more resources over time, instead of buying the business, jamming it together, changing this, that person, all these things. That to me is a recipe for disaster. I've lived that a number of times as well, and I've learned there's a much better way to do this, and this partnership model that we do has proven to be very successful. And we've done this now 33 times. Okay. So we continue to do it. We've got a massive pipeline of groups that are coming on board to join Kelso as well. And I think we'll be doing this for a very long time, because we seem to have cracked some of that code to make this work for everybody to win.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you certainly cracked the code. I think the piece, the partnership piece, when you're, especially, well, I also, I grew up in the trades, so I understand it is a bit of a different world sometimes, certainly different than, your white collar type businesses. In those relationships are so important. Like the sellers are such a big piece of the puzzle in terms of success and having a relationship. And it sounds like, but the model that you've developed, you're almost taking that risk away of having, I guess you could still have some contention with the sellers, but you're taking some of that away by partnering with them and having them still involved. People try to do that in a lot of ways. They try to do it with a seller note. They try to do it with, earnouts, but it's like, that's what, you buy a small business and you spend $2 million. And even if you have a 10% seller note, if that seller is upset enough, they don't care about $200,000. Like, they're just going to walk away and kind of leave you hanging. So when did you kind of figure out that model? Was it after that first acquisition, or you did a couple and then were like, no, this isn't working. Let's kind of switch it up a little bit, how you approached it?
Are you planning a remodel or construction project? Overwhelmed by the process? Over budget? Extended timelines? Strained relationships? We are all too familiar. At Lark Construction Services, we help homeowners and business owners take control of their construction journey, from reviewing bids and contracts to catching red flags before they become costly mistakes. Our Clarity Audit is a one-on-one expert review of your plans, estimates, or current progress, giving you the peace of mind and a defined action plan to move forward with confidence. Don't let confusion lead to costly errors. Visit larkconstruction.com and schedule your free call today. Lark Construction Services, saving you time, money, and stress.
Well, early on, we weren't sure if this was even going to work. So we bought the first one outright and learned all the headaches over the course of a couple of years. Honestly, some of the headaches don't even bear fruit until time has passed. So we learned about all those things that can happen over time, but we tried with I think it was the very next acquisition, actually. It ended up being the partnership approach that we do now. But then the third one was outright, fourth one was outright. I think the fifth one might have been partnership, and the sixth one was more of an outright acquisition. But after that one, everyone after then, from then on, we had realized, hey, this partnership thing's probably better than the other approaches.
Yeah.
And so rather than trying to do a mixture a bunch of times, we leaned into the partnership acquisition, if you will, model. And then we effectively, that's all we do. I mean, probably more than 25, easily 25 of our 33 deals were this partnership approach. And it's been really great because we've got so much volume and so much scale now and so many partners. We're actually able to have resources and team at Kelso to support our partners, but that team that we've built now is allowing us to start new greenfield opportunities, new startups. We have a prefab business that we've started from scratch. We have a heavy industrial mechanical piping business that we started from scratch. We've got a fire protection business we've started from scratch. We've expanded to other some of our companies have expanded to other geographies. We've launched a national service organization from parts of our business, but we've taken other parts and started from scratch, kind of developed a growth model there. And at a certain point, it's hard to do when you only have a couple of these.
Right.
You're just stretched too far, too thin, and your team ends up being stretched too thin just operating. You don't have there's no extra bandwidth to do anything new. So for us, around the time that we crossed $1 billion in top line is when we actually had some bandwidth, because we had our team, we had some extra things there. But our partners continue to run all of their businesses. And some of those partners are the ones raising their hand saying, hey, I actually want to go do this thing. Can you help? And that's where this partnership thing can be beautiful. It's partners maybe wanting to grow because they've promised something to their team so their teams can grow and expand. Maybe they've promised something to customers. They want to do better for your customers. Maybe a partner actually is selling because they need a path to retirement. That might be hard to do on your own, because who are you going to sell the business to? You're going to sell it to an employee. You're going to sell it to someone else. That could work, but then you're putting a lot of pressure on that employee or someone else to try to make it work. It can happen, of course, but I think we create a safe environment for everybody to win and for the employees to still grow their careers, maybe even at a faster pace because they're part of something bigger. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. I forget what your question was, but a lot of learnings.
Yeah, no. I mean, that all of this is great to hear. We'll circle back to kind of structure and how you handle all of this and with the partnerships. But I wanted to touch on, so MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. You started with an HVAC company. Was your plan always to do all three of those things? I mean, now it sounds like you've added in even other services as well, but why would someone do that versus say, oh, I'm just going to get as many HVAC companies as I can and stay in one vertical? Like I have my own thoughts on this, but I'm as someone who's actually doing it, I'd love to hear kind of your idea.
Yeah. I mean, early on, we have investors. I have a partner that's not from the industry. And so I was willing to die on the hill for this early on. The name is Kelso Industries for a reason. And early on, when you're buying an HVAC company, a commercial HVAC company, there's a temptation to name everything after HVAC or mechanical or whatever you're chasing.
Yep.
But for us, it was important because even though we did focus on commercial HVAC for a long time, it was important for me because I knew and I had this dream that over time we would build a turnkey solution for customers. I want customers to call us and say, I need XYZ. And I want to be able to say, great, we'll take care of you. I'll bring in my team. I'll bring in my electricians. The electricians will bring in the plumber, whoever it is. We'll bring in a Kelso partner to the table to provide a solution for you, because guess what? We do that all day long. We're doing it for 25 other customers. We work well together. Our back end processes work well together. We have the same payroll, we have the same insurance, we have the same pre-qual. We maybe even offer a one license to handle all of the things to make it simpler for the customer.
Right.
Lots of things we can do there. Hard to do it when you're smaller. Hard to do it. It's possible, but in the beginning, to a certain degree, I don't see a lot of companies that are below certain sizes being able to offer full MEP, because it is a lot. I mean, you're managing multiple trade licenses, you're managing different types of insurances, you're managing different equipment needs, welding needs versus conduit pipe bending needs. You've got different needs across the trades. You also have different talent. Hard to do when you're in the early days. So we just stayed focused on. Sorry, I got a guy bothering me here. We stayed focused on mechanical for quite some time until we added electrical, and we've been cautious there too. We don't jam these companies together. Electricians are never going to become plumbers, and plumbers are never going to become electricians, and vice versa. So unless someone really wants to, which is great, we'll give somebody an opportunity to go cross train all over the place if they so choose to. We're non-union. That just doesn't, that's just one of the nuances to all of this. But to the client, whether this team or that team shows up, it almost doesn't matter. We're going to provide a cohesive solution on certain projects. That's the goal. The other thing I would add there, Jason, is our strategy. We call it the Kelso flywheel. We want to do construction projects. We want to do maintenance for that project in that building, and we want to do all the service on that building. And then when the service eventually turns into a big retrofit project, or maybe they're expanding and building a new building, great. We bring in the teams to do all of that from a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing standpoint.
And are you doing all commercial?
99%.
Yeah. Okay.
Commercial and industrial, if we lump industrial into that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have my own thoughts on this, and I completely agree with you. And sometimes I wonder why more people don't do that, but maybe it is the size issue that you're speaking of, because it's like, there's plenty of jobs where it's like, oh, the plumber, someone's installing something, right? Like the HVAC guy's installing the HVAC, but oh, by the way, it needs electricity. Well, now we got to call the electrician, and it's like
there's condensate coming out of that too. You need a plumber to do that. It's like, definitely we're connecting all the time, constantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's all part. Like I wonder why more of the large GC corporations don't have their own like in-house. They're still subbing out, for an electrician or for a plumber or whatever. It's an interesting. I understand some of the reasons behind it, but I feel like your goal to create this one-stop shop for your customers, and then the things that you're adding as you're starting up just adds to that, right? Like they're going to think of Kelso Industries always. They'd be like, something comes up in the building, they're like, well, we should call Steve and see if they do this. And you get that call enough times and you're like, yes, we do that, and figure out how to do that.
Exactly. I want to be that solution. And I think there's a lot of reasons why over time we win work because of that. An owner calls us and we can do more for them. We're just, helping them get promoted and do well in their job, managing, whether it's a GC or a building engineer or anyone else that's responsible for properties. Our goal is to help them succeed.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned the employees. It just creates a lot of optionality, because a lot of electricians, they have no interest being plumbers and vice versa. But some of the young guys, they might not be sure what trade they want to be in yet, and if the ability to cross train and see what they could create a career out of, I think is very. It probably helps attract, especially young talent in terms of their optionality within the company.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few people that I've helped kind of early on get into our organization I mean, do you want to be a service technician? Do you want to be on a construction site? Do you want to do maintenance? Do you want to do electrical? Do you want to do plumbing? We actually can offer people early in their career the opportunity to stay with one organization to experience those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that's great. What about licensing? I think you said 40 states. The licensing requirements I know are different in almost all almost all of the states. Is that where the partnership thing becomes important to you, like from the perspective of Kelso Industries, or because now you've got someone in that state who's licensed if you maybe hadn't before? So how do you manage all of that? Because I mean, it is maybe one of the biggest complexities in terms of just staying compliant.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's not easy to manage. Another reason why partnership's great, because you've got someone that you can count on that carries the license, at least for a time. Hard to do when you're buying businesses. It's very, very stressful when that license holder leaves. You might be out of a license, out of compliance for some time, and that can cause tons of issues. So that is one of the reasons why it helps. A lot of things have gotten better for us as time's gone on. We have basically a succession plan for licenses now too. So we have tons of backups for pretty much every part of our business there, but it's still something we have to think about. We have to work on. We have a team that manages it now for us.
Oh, great.
We have over 500 licenses.
Oh, yeah, sure. Especially you're doing multiple trades in multiple states, it's got to be just a constant, I don't know, something you got to be on top of all the time. And it's not just licensing; it's the well, in California we have to have bonds, and your liability insurances. I mean, just all of that compliance stuff is, and that's where scale, or one of the places where scale becomes really impactful, because like you said, you've got a team that handles all of that, and you can be, trying to track it yourself gets really complicated really fast.
Oh yeah. Insurance renewals for all those people, those companies, benefits for all the people, licensing renewals, municipality requirements. It just goes on and on and on. It's hard to do when you're on your own. A lot of times owners bear the brunt of all of that. If you're an electrician and you build up an electrical business, most owners that I've built and ran into that built these businesses end up spending all their time on payroll and insurance and bonding and processing paperwork. And when they join Kelso, it's actually really refreshing. One of the things I hear commonly is, hey, this is awesome because now I'm getting back to the things that I enjoyed doing. No electrician or plumber or mechanical pipe fitter that I know comes to me and says, I really love managing insurance renewals every year. It's something we have to do, but
right.
It might take an entire month or longer to manage, processing payroll, all these things. And as we've gotten bigger, we've been able to build up our team to support our partners so they can get back to doing the things that they love. And it's hard to do when you're a small business owner. Somebody has to do it. You can have an office manager and you're going to have your team helping you with that. But heck, even the office manager might be better at managing projects or, finding ways to cut costs. And so make the company more efficient and hiring people that the company needs instead of processing payroll, instead of insurance renewals. So there's a lot of good things as we've gotten bigger, we've learned. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think people maybe, I don't know if people outside the trades understand this, but, and please feel free to, if you have a different take on this, but I think mostly what happens in the trades is someone gets into it. They work for a long time. They work for someone else. the reason they might get licensed is because they decide they're going to go out on their own. But then a lot of them get out on their own and then they run into all these things that you're just talking about where they're like, oh, now I have to handle the business part of this. And they get pulled away from what they enjoyed doing in the first place. And it's, I've seen this firsthand in the electrical company I acquired. That the founder, he stayed on. It's fantastic. We have a great relationship. He's a phenomenal electrician. He did not like he's so much happier now because I'm handling and like handling that stuff and putting those systems in place and being the almost like his admin at this point. I'm taking on bidding. Like I'm trying to let him do what he enjoys so that he has more years before he retires and we can, grow this business together. But it's like, we've got guys that are, that have their own businesses, but they're now doing jobs for us as subcontractors because it's easier for them to just come and like, if I give them work and just pay them a daily rate, like they're very happy to do that. And then they don't have to deal with all of the other stuff. So, and that sounds a little bit on a much, much smaller scale, like what you're doing from a partnership perspective. And like, I don't have anything official in place to buy those businesses, but I could see it going there. The thought has certainly crossed my mind, like, oh, well, maybe this is a guy who would like to sell me his business when, the time comes. And so I do think that the trades have their own flavor in the sense of, how business gets done, and building something as big as Kelso Industries is different and exciting to me. I think but it allows these partnership structures, I would have to think, makes those businesses that I don't know how you're structuring it, but acquiring and partnering with it probably breathes a bit of new life into them, when they may be at a stage of burnout or close to retirement or whatever. I would have to imagine that gets such a largely a positive response from them.
Yeah, I think to me, it's one of the reasons why our model works is there's quite a desperate need for succession planning for trades business owners. I believe there is a need there, and I think there's probably thousands of these companies in different industries in the trades that are going to need to find a home. And not every one of those is a fit for us, but might be a fit for someone else that wants to go, figure this path out. But yeah, we've tried to set our business up to be a smooth landing in that process for an owner. It's not always somebody that's old or wanting to retire. Right. And I'm really proud of that too, because we have a very large percentage of our companies are actually young guys that started the business, grew it to a point and realized, wow, I've got a lot of risk in this, my personal net worth, all these things. Wouldn't it be nice if I could take some chips off and partner with a company like Kelso and keep growing, give my team a chance to keep growing, give them a chance to do more, and give their teams a chance to go do more. And sometimes when you do that with your own money, you start to look at how much is tied up in AR, and, vendor wants you to pay faster, and you grew from this year to last year. You still have to do payroll every week. As a business owner, you start to get out a lot of money. Your cash growth in this business is very, very cash intensive, incredibly cash intensive.
Absolutely.
So growing to when you're at a certain point, it's quite risky as a business owner. You get to a personal, value of your business and realize maybe I should consider partnering. If they find us, they can accomplish a lot of their personal goals and take the personal risk off of their net worth.
Mhm. Are you actively seeking out new partners? Do they usually find you? How much is inbound versus outbound on that?
We all options are on the table for us. The way we think about the world, we have anywhere from 7 to 9 new partners joining us at any given time in the process, and um, that is it's just one of the great things of what we've done. I think is 5 years ago nobody wanted to join us. Why would
Yeah.
somebody want to join us? We're nobodies, and it was pounding the pavement. I was on planes every single week, meeting with people, trying to convince them why we would be good partners. Tons of no's, hundreds of no's, and over time, that's flipped. And we have a very, very healthy pipeline of people coming to us, people being referred to us, friends of our current partners, business owner networks, broker networks. It's an exciting spot to be in now, because I in the beginning was, when you get told no so many times, or it's not a fit, or somebody offered more, or somebody better is buying the business, you're not good enough, whatever. You're told that for so many years. We also bought the first business in May of 2021. I got years of no's leading up to that point too.
Sure.
So it's 7+ years of you get no's for a long time that you can eventually turn them into yeses, I believe, if you work at it. And at our level now, I'm really proud of the pipeline that we have, and we're always looking for new partners. Always. It's in our DNA. We're always looking for new partners. We think we can do that forever.
So, I mean, you mentioned having investors. Is this something that is this meant to be a long-term hold? What's your future strategy look like, I guess? Because I think you mentioned the flywheel. Like, I would imagine that's only going to get stronger and stronger, and you're going to have more opportunities to find more partners and grow this. And you said billion top line, like that's probably you could sell that to private equity and do quite well yourselves. But what is your long-term plan?
Yeah, I'm only 43. I love what I'm doing. I've handpicked every single person that I interact with, and I think they've handpicked everyone they've interacted with. And so we have great partners. We have great people that we work with, great industry. I absolutely love the mechanical, electrical, plumbing trades. I think it's a gem in our across our country. I think it's just, I can't imagine doing anything else. So for me, I'm planning to lean in and do this forever. What does that mean? I don't know, 10 to 20 years. I love what I'm doing. I love my team. I love everything that we do. I love that we get to build cool things and be a part of industry trends. We're involved in data centers and life sciences and secret stuff, and it's a fun industry, and we're a critical partner. MEP is oftentimes one of, if not the most important aspect to any project that's a building. Sure. In any capacity, whether it's manufacturing or anything else. So for me, I think this is a long-term thing, and therefore we're just going to continue to grow forever. Somewhere along the way, we may end up having to go public. Capital can be efficient in that model. There's ways for us to grow forever without going public, and that could happen too. But I let my partner worry about that more than myself. He's the chairman, and his responsibility is to make sure we've got the right capital to keep this thing going forever. And that'll evolve. But we did 1.2 billion last year. This year we're going to have a very, very good year. We're going to far exceed the 1.2. Depending on what happens, we'll be will be well above 1.5 billion, maybe even 1.6, 1.7, and who knows what happens. We might even do more than that. And I personally believe in the next 15 years, we can be a $10 billion business. So we're just going to continue to plug along, create opportunities, build amazing teams, provide an amazing service to our customers, organize the Kelso flywheel better and better. I think that's a continual effort that we'll probably never fully realize, but over time we'll gain more benefit as we realize parts of it and pieces of it. But I always look at our map in our corporate office, which is up in Utah. I live in Arizona. That's where I am right now. But when I'm there visiting, and when I look at our website, we have a map and pins on all of the locations that we're at. I look at it regularly, and I always look at that and say, man, I've got so much work to do. We have just barely scratched the surface in the majority of the United States, and so much work to do. So I'm always inspired to continue this thing, and there's just so much opportunity. I mean, this is a $500 billion industry, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing trade in the U.S. in 2023. So 2026, is it a $600 billion industry or more? I believe it is. I think it's a massive industry, and we're not even 1%. We're a long ways away from 1%. So a lot more for us to do, and a lot more for us to go figure out.
That's a fun, I don't know, exercise. And I've done that with some of the companies I've looked at. It's just, you look at that, like, what is the U.S. total market on, whatever, if MEP, if that is 500 or 600 billion, you're like, of course I can be 1% of that. And you start to think about it, and you're like, oh yeah, that's because, if you've acquired 33 companies, you've built, so even if you said, I don't know what the actual number is, but you have 40 companies in the construction industry, right? And I live in Los Angeles. I could see 40 companies on my drive today. So
you probably would.
Like, easily, just looking at trucks, right? Like, just looking at
Right.
the names on trucks. And so the opportunity there, if you're looking nationwide, is just humongous. So, congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
I think it's phenomenal and inspiring to me. So thank you for this conversation too. Steve, like I said, I talk about this stuff all day, but let me switch gears and make sure I do ask you the questions I ask every guest. The first one, the name of the show is Know Your Why. So obviously you've had tremendous success, and I would like to point out for people listening, if they didn't do the math, this is just 5 years. Like, this is not, it's not over a long time, right? You said you got that first one in 2021 and we're in 2026. So it's I know you were looking before that, but realistically, like, the tremendous success in a relatively short period of time. What is your why? What is driving you, to continue to grow and push through what I know you said we started the conversation with, there were some hard times you didn't know if this was going to work out. So what drives you?
Yeah, I think for me, it evolves. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I have 3 kids, been married for 16 years. You just want to do a good job for those that you love and make sure they've got a future and make sure they're taken care of. So that's my first and always going to be my first why. But as time goes on, we live in a tract home. I don't live in I don't have a fancy lifestyle. My family, I believe, is going to be just fine. And that's not something I'm ever going to take for granted. I try to take them to sports when I'm in town and be involved and help with things. And I get a lot of why. That's a lot of my why. But also, what's been really fun for me as we've gone on building this business is I've been able to see a number of people change their lives because they've been able to be a part of Kelso, and they've been able to improve their own personal why because they have a great career and they're helping build a small part of our business, but they're able to go back home and say, to their wives and to their kids that they're going to be taken care of. And that doesn't mean any of us are so rich that we just get to go sit on a beach and goof off, but having a meaningful career to go to and provide an income to matters a lot to me. And we're actually very close to 4,000 employees now. And I take that very seriously. I think I have 4,000 people that their why, they've got their families they need to take care of. And I work very hard, and our team works very hard to make sure they're able to go look their spouses in their eyes and say, I'm taking care of you, and we're together going to win. But even beyond that, seeing some of my leaders and our team members grow personally, it's hard to experience that. It's hard to get that experience and not be insanely happy for them and proud of them. I want to impact as many lives as I can in that way. I believe that's a good long-term mission to chase beyond just providing the Kelso flywheel to our customers. Of course, I want to provide the best service possible to our customers. And I believe the Kelso flywheel over time does that for them as long as we execute. But as our teams achieve their personal goals, they'll help our customers achieve their goals too. And I couldn't imagine something that I'd be more proud to be a part of over the next 10 to 20 years.
Fantastic. When people hear this and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Probably the best is to find me on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I'm not able to respond to everybody anymore. It's usually too many at this point, but connect with me on LinkedIn, follow me, comment on stuff. We can get to know each other over time, but LinkedIn's a really good place to get in touch.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll have that in the show notes for people to connect. Steve, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for all that you shared. And, like I said, personally, I'm very inspired by this story, and my flywheel is spinning in my head. I'm real excited for you, and it just love to continue to watch the journey. So thanks for being here today.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Folks listening, make sure you connect with Steve. I would say, especially if you're looking to become a partner with Kelso Industries, that'd be a good place to start. Please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get great guests. And as always, thank you all for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?